Welcome inside the pregame, presented by Twitch. I'm Vince Sapienza, coming to you from Raiders HQ, joined by 8-year NFL veteran, former Raiders running back, an analyst, an actor, philanthropist, and all things football, Rashad Jennings. Rashad, we made it. Week 1 of the season is upon us. What is that feeling as a former player now?
Dude, hey, listen. First of all, I'm glad to be here. It's hard to get behind these desks. It's hard to make it through a season. Chopping at the bit to talk about football. I'm excited. Thanks for having me. But, man, we're here. Preseason is over. We trickle down the roster to 53. We know who we have. We know who we're going against. And now the bullets are live and they count and they matter for everything.
It's pretty interesting for the Raiders as they hit the road for Foxborough. And you look at this matchup and all the matchups and week 1 opponents that there could be. You look at this one, you're like, New England, a game that the connections and the history is obviously very much there. You look at the recency of former players, former coaches, back and forth, what have you. But you look at this, 2 teams, both 4-win seasons a year ago, have a lot of optimism, a lot of energy in their buildings this past summer, but not a lot of knowns of what we're actually going to get in the 2025 campaign. It makes for a fascinating matchup because, again, that unknown, that mystery box type thing you have on both sides really presents quite the challenge and quite the excitement for when they kick off on Sunday.
Yeah, and look, one of the storylines that's really interesting to me, especially as a former player now, I mean, Tom Brady. Tom Brady played for the Patriots. Tom Brady has a statue outside of the facility over there in New England. Tom Brady is a minority owner now with the Raiders. This guy has a lot to prove, a lot to say. And ironically enough, in my own humble opinion, there's this question that always lingered. Who was it? Was it Bill Belichick or was it Tom Brady? After Tom Brady left, we kind of see what happened. And we also saw Bill Belichick's opener in North Carolina getting blown out by TCU. I think that there's something in Tom Brady that wants to prove a point to New England and to everybody that understands football. I was the system. So I think he has a lot of inside, rope pulling on this game.
We're going to get into the keys of the game for Sunday, what the Raiders need to do to come away with a week 1 win. But I want to talk to you about something that it's kind of been gnawing at me just a little bit. The national perception around the New England Patriots is that they are going to go from worst to first, or have that ability, that they could be a team that is pounding the table and on the cusp of a playoff berth this season. Now, I would make the argument that no team in the NFL has had more of a transformational offseason than the Las Vegas Raiders. When you talk about Tom Brady joining the ownership group, when you talk about Pete Carroll in the fold, Chip Kelly, a new quarterback in Geno Smith, weaponry in an Ashton Genty, year 2 of Brock Bowers, the resumes and the Super Bowl caliber players that are now on the defensive side of the ball. You look at all that and then you compare it to the New England Patriots, who just happen to be the week 1 opponent. They spent a lot of money this summer, and they kind of had to get to the cap floor, but they spent a lot of money specifically on the defensive side. Former player Robert Spillane over there, Chase on as well. Why aren't the Raiders getting as much love as maybe the Patriots have received from the national perspective, in your opinion?
My opinion would be because of the young, upcoming quarterback that they have on the helm, whereas the Raiders have Geno Smith, a little bit longer in the tooth, efficient slinger. So when you have a young guy who has a productive season, you have a young guy who's taking on a franchise, and you have a young guy that brings in a weapon like a Stephon Diggs, it becomes a little bit more intriguing in talking about what he potentially could be. However, though, people that are in the trenches of the game understand that bringing Geno Smith in and comparing him with an Ashton Genty and a Brock Bowers and they are loaded to the top offensively. If I have to pick the offense that is the better offense on the field, I'm going with the Raiders, no doubt about it. Now, here's a chance for them to prove why they should be getting the talk and recognition in the National Football League over the Patriots. But, I think it's just something, too. in America. Any team that has that kind of colors of red, white, and blue on them kind of just get talked about no matter what. And that just happens to be the Patriots in that case, too.
All right, let's dig into this game. Let's really get into the meat of it. Earlier this week at practice, I asked Pete Carroll, when you turn on the tape for the New England Patriots, what jumps out at you? And I was trying to be as generic and broad because I was curious what he was going to say. And the first thing he said was their ability to run the ball, their propensity to run the ball. And it starts with stopping the run. Now, as a running back and one who did it at the highest of levels, when you hear a coach say that, saying the goal is to stop, what are you hearing and what do the Raiders need to do efficiently to make sure that happens aside from the basics of their gaps, tackling, etc.?
Yeah, every team I've ever played with, they say the same thing. Week 1, year 1, day 1. Stop the run and establish the run. That's what you have to do to succeed in the National Football League. And upon doing that, fill in your gaps, be efficient, heavy-handed, make them win by throwing the football. If you could control the game through the run, you control everything. Why? Because you control the clock, you control the sticks, you control your defense getting more rest, you control points, and the game goes by much quicker. If you start slinging the ball around, it's a different game. So I think that's going to be a tall task. But when you look at guys that the Raiders have on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, they are up for the challenge. And I think Pete Carroll's always hung his hat on being heavy-handed in a defensive kind of attack, old school football, win in the trenches, win in third downs, play smart football, and air it out deep here and there just to keep you honest. But he wants to take you in the backyard and fight. That's Pete Carroll. That's the identity of the Raiders this year, and I think they have the personnel to do that.
Feels like the sizzle for the Patriots is Drake May, as you mentioned, a young quarterback. That gets everybody excited. But the stake is going to be their running game. Mike Vrabel has made no bones about it. He wants his team to be as physical as possible. I mean, he's jumping into training camp, joint practices, fights the last few weeks. He wants his team to be physical. And when we look at the Patriots side, Travion Henderson figures to be a big part of that physicality and running the ball.
Yeah, I think he will. Shorter guy, physical, can do everything you ask. He's a locker room guy. Everybody's cheering him on. I know a couple guys that play with the Patriots, and I just had some quick conversations with them, and they love the kid. He's one of them dudes that just fits in. He feels like family member. And obviously, Vrabel, he wants, everybody, folks, has to say this, whether they believe it or not. They have to say, let's run the ball. We have to be efficient. Everybody is going to say that. It's lip service for a lot of people. You hear a lot of people, relationships, I love you. But do they? Show me. And I think Vrabel actually is a guy that's trying to show that's what he feels they need to do to win. And I also think Pete Carroll's that way. I can't say that for every team in the National Football League.
Okay.
But expect this game to be very fast and as the clock goes by, because there's going to be a lot of running. Both teams want to run the ball. Both teams want to be physical and establish an identity behind that. So it's not lip service here, folks. These people do love running the football.
Well, let's stay right there with that conversation, but bring it to the Raiders side. There's a lot of excitement. Maybe nobody's more excited than Raider Nation to see the debut of Ashton Genty in the silver and black. I'll pose the question to you this way. As you said, everybody wants to run the ball, and you want to do it effectively, move the chains, keep the clock, manage the game. How important is it for the Raiders to get Ashton Genty going, not just for all those reasons, but because he is a rookie, because he is making his NFL debut, because he is the 6th overall draft pick for this team?
Listen, it's important to get him going because you get the fans into it immediately. When Jeanty or Brock Bowers makes a play on that offensive side of the ball, the fans will erupt every single time because they are fan favorites. They are the rock inside of that wrestling ring. You want to see the people's elbow. I don't give a dang who is against. Give me the elbow. And that's exactly what Jeanty is. I want to see him run somebody over. I want him to do a first down symbol. I want Brock to catch the football. I want to see it because it erupts. And when you get that eruption and that energy going in that black hole, it becomes something. And so because he's young, because he's a rookie, you want to get him screens. You want to get him a good hard run nose inside zone, a nice power play. Give him if it's first and goal, run a touchdown in with him. It does something to his morale. It puts him as the bell cow. It allows the fans to get into it, and it allows that defense to erupt. Because the defense with the Raiders understand how good he is. When you're a dominant player makes a play on the opposite side of the ball, you get excited. Like, and it's nothing that lights up a team when you're outside of your superstar making a big time play. So they're gonna have to get him going fast, early, and often.
You know, we talked about during the preseason the excitement that Ashton did create when he showed in that San Francisco game at Allegiant Stadium in front of Raider Nation, running over a DB, right? Getting in the end zone. We heard it. We saw it. We felt it. We experienced it. He said something interesting this week, though, when he was asked, what did you learn from the preseason? And he said, with a half smirk and a chuckle, probably need to make more guys miss. Now, he only carried the ball, I believe it was 10 times during the preseason. He's already felt a little bit of the physicality, a small sample size of what the NFL brings. But when you hear that, I'm curious how you take that, not only as a former player, but as a guy who played that position and was able to use the speed game, was able to use some physicality to his game. When you hear Ashton say, hey, maybe I don't need to run over everybody like I did at Boise State where I needed to get in the end zone, maybe I can show off the skills a little bit in the finesse game.
Yeah, that shows me that he was welcomed to the NFL,
okay,
where everybody's big, fast, and strong. Now, I happen to be 6'1.5". I was playing around 230 to 240. I was heavy. So for me, being physical came with, even if I try to make you miss, I made you miss with physicality. Mm-hmm. So I was a thumper, a heavy guy. Jeanty's a bullet that can run through you. Now he's also saying, you know what? I don't have to load up a heavy chamber all the time. I could kind of, move around. I don't always have to be the bullet, which is beautiful to hear because I want to see this guy last a very long time in the National Football League.
Right.
He has that skill set and ability. He can catch. I mean, the dude is special. But trust me, folks, we're human. He went home after one of these games and said, he probably looked at his family members. He looked at one of his homeboys. He FaceTimed somebody, was like, hey, listen, I can run people over, but I think I'm going to start juking some too. But it's good, though. It's good to learn that early because then as he learns that juke ability, it's just going to set up more of his pound game.
And it also says a little bit about a self-awareness, right? Because he talked about, he was put in scenarios in college where he had to run over guys. He didn't have the opportunity to use the finesse game, but it's also the self-awareness to be like, hey, I also don't have to do this all on my own on the offense. Like, there's good players around me. Let the blockers do what they need to do. Let me make my moves. And I think that self-awareness early on, at least from where I sit, that feels like a huge step for a rookie in his first year.
And to your point, yeah, he was the bell cow now, and in the respect that he had to carry the football team. They were playing with 9. I swear I saw 10 in the box before with Boise State. And so with that in mind, he knew he was going to have to run through everything. But now understanding you can get 6 in the box sometimes and you can finesse. Dude, his game is going to continue to grow. Look at him. Probably he's going to start off pretty good, but mid-season it's going to start clicking for him at the speed of the actual NFL game, and he's going to adjust very quickly. I'm excited to see this guy.
All right, let's get to another key point that is going to have a lot of eyeballs and a lot of attention come Sunday, and that's on the silver and black secondary. I know it feels like we're on repeat, us having this conversation here on the pregame, whether it's training camp, preseason, or now into the regular season. There are big question marks of what this secondary will look like. Pete Carroll continues to tell us every time he steps in front of a mic and gets asked, he really likes the guys. But the only way to put confidence in not only the fan base, but the players themselves is to gain that confidence in a game setting. So learning on the job is a big part of this, at least for the secondaries, more specifically to the Raiders' cornerbacks. Kyu Blue Kelly flew up the depth chart. He's now listed as a 1. Eric Stokes seems to have that other number 1 corner spot locked in. Again, he's a guy that's been around the league, former first-round pick, but hasn't been able to see his potential because of injuries to Cameron Richardson in year 2. Darian Porter is a rookie who also features to be featured in some type of rotation throughout the game. So when we talk about the secondary, I think we all understand that yards are going to be given up, right? Like catches are going to be had by these New England receivers. I think the big question for me that I'll pose to you, Rashad, is the takeaways. Can this group take the ball away?
I think they can. No doubt. I really think they can. And with the defensive line having a motor, being able to get at the quarterback, get them uncomfortable, throw off-time balls, that gives an opportunity for some picks, some pass breakups, etc. And this defensive back will be challenged. You got Stephon Diggs running around trying to figure out how to guard him. He can run every every route in the tree. You got Demario Douglas out of a little small school. Shout out to Liberty University. He went there with me. He's an efficient receiver. He can run every route in the tree. He's a slot guy. And then you have somebody, bigger a little bit more so with Kayshawn. So I think you have a challenge, and then Henry running around as a tight end. You're going to have the complementary defense with the linebackers, but they can get physical. And that's what they need. And I think when you look at the Patriots, they got 2 on the left side of the football. They got a tackle as a rookie, and they have a guard that is a rookie, and they're both young. And I think it's going to be a lot of blitzes and pressures to see if they can handle that up front. And just like last week, we saw, just touching back a little bit off the game of yesterday. I mean, you saw when Philly decided to blitz, when the Cowboys decided to blitz against Hurts, they had free guys every time. He was just making a miss and making plays. And it's so if you can show that, the thing about it you don't want to ever show on film is that you can't pick up a blitz because they are going to throw them at you all night long. And I think we are going to see the Patriots struggle a little bit with picking up pass protection, which then will open up the room for some interceptions, some sacks, etc.
Again, a lot of the attention goes to the secondary, but how much of the onus is on that defensive line, right? To make a Drake May uncomfortable. You look at a New England offensive line that has a bevy of new starters, a rookie left tackle and Will Campbell. I'm curious. There's pressure on everybody, right? But if you're Patrick Graham, are you not putting a lot of the onus and a lot of the, hey, I need you guys to get after. I need you to stay in your lanes. I need you to get after Drake May. I need you to get after that quarterback.
Absolutely. Especially with Max Crosby up front. I mean, he's an engine. And the defense feeds off him first and foremost. And so I think he's going to set the tempo fast. I would not be shocked at all if Pete Carroll wins the toss and decides to go defense first. I would not be shocked at all because there's a lot of energy. They have some young guys over there on the with the Patriots up front, and I would send blitzes very early to see how they handle it and let them know what kind of physical game this is going to be. And it runs through Max Crosby, man. There's no realm about it. I think he's going to help a lot of the defensive linemen. He's going to help the linebackers open up. But here's the thing I think that's going to set the difference is on the 3rd and short. Your 3rd and short sets the energy of a team. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. If we get a stop, Raiders get a stop, it's going to open up their whole entire offense because there's an energy and a momentum shift.
Before we close this thing out, I want you to kind of dispel any myths or any misnomers about, you said everybody wants to run the ball, right? Everybody wants to start fast as well. Those scripted 15 plays that everybody's got. Chip Kelly hasn't been in the NFL for a hot minute, but everybody's looking at what those first 15 scripted plays are, what they look like, how much attention is on the first 15 plays. Walk me through the myth that is the first 15 plays? And is it not a myth? Is it 15 plays? This is what we're running. This is how it's going to look when we start.
So, folks, just to get y'all on speed, for maybe you know, maybe you don't know, the first 15 plays in the NFL, we kind of get into this conspiracy. Oh, it's scripted. There is a script that every offense has that they want to run these first 15 plays. And that's because they prepared for that team for weeks. In this situation, for months. So because of that, we can play fast. The first play of the game is already understood which one it is based upon which hash you're on. Already know. So the very first play will let you know what kind of team you have. Because if you get a negative yard on your first play that you've scripted for months, it means you're in trouble. Folks, understand this. So because of that, we can play fast. Okay, my first 15 plays, I know it's going to be boom, 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 boom. And what that allows, too, as a defensive coordinator, to figure out your tempo, to figure out the pulse. But it's all about offense when the game first starts. Trust me, folks.
Rashad,
but it does exist.
We are here. We have arrived for week one. Raiders, Patriots, week one, Foxborough, Gillette Stadium, 10 a.m. Pacific kickoff on Sunday. I cannot wait to see what this 2025 edition of the Silver and Black look like. You are not a finished product after one game. I understand that. Can't get too high, can't get too low, no matter what. But I'm excited to see what they put on the field. Thank you for joining us here on the pregame presented by Twitch for the former NFL vet, former Raider, Rashad Jennings. I'm Vince Sapienza. Make sure you check out all of the podcasts that the Raiders put out on Raiders.com and on YouTube, as well as everywhere else you find your podcasts. Until then, we'll see you next week.